There is a truth about wealth that is rarely spoken, yet it is the truth that changes everything. People chase money, they hustle, they struggle, they toil, and still they find themselves running in circles. Why? Because they are chasing shadows. The visible is only the echo of the invisible. The true key to wealth is not out there, it is within. The divine key to wealth nobody talks about is this: faith fused with expectancy. It is the unshakable knowing that what is yours by divine right cannot be withheld. When you live in that certainty, doors open, paths appear, and opportunities find you without strain. Wealth is not something you earn through fear-driven effort. Wealth is something you align with. The universe does not reward panic, it responds to faith. Speak words of abundance and watch how the energy shifts. Speak words of lack, and the doors of possibility slam shut. Your tongue is the master key. You are either unlocking or locking the vault of prosperity with every declaration. Gratitude is another key that multiplies wealth. When you give thanks before the blessing shows up, you have already placed the order. Gratitude says it is done. Gratitude draws the future into the present. But beware, fear is the thief of all wealth. Fear whispers, you can't, you'll fail, there's not enough. And the moment you agree, the lock turns against you. Courage is required. Courage to give when you feel like holding back. Courage to imagine the life you desire and believe it is already yours. Courage to prepare your table while the feast is still unseen. Giving is not losing, it is activating. Every seed planted in faith returns multiplied. The fearful clutch their coins and call it wisdom, but the wise give and prove their trust in the infinite source. And the universe always rushes to confirm that trust. Do not underestimate the power of imagination. The picture you hold in your mind, if charged with faith, becomes your reality. See yourself wealthy, secure, generous, and joyful. See yourself walking in freedom. Hold that image and you have placed the key into the lock. And finally, surrender. Release the anxious striving, the desperate grasping. Wealth flows not to the desperate, but to the surrendered. When you align with divine order, you stop chasing and you start attracting. The divine key to wealth is not in the banks, not in the markets, not in the grind. It is in your faith, your words, your gratitude, your courage, your giving, your vision, and your surrender. Use the key, and you will unlock what has been waiting for you all along, a life of abundance, freedom, and divine prosperity. Wealth begins in the unseen realm. Before money ever shows up in your hands, before opportunity ever knocks at your door, before circumstances shift in your favor, there is an invisible foundation being laid. This is the part most people miss, and it's why so many find themselves running tirelessly in pursuit of wealth, only to discover they're chasing shadows. They pour all of their energy into the material world while neglecting the spiritual laws that govern it. But the truth is simple. Everything visible is born out of the invisible. The outer world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world, a mirror of the thoughts, beliefs, and energy you carry within. If the unseen realm is neglected, the visible realm will always remain unstable. When you understand that wealth is spiritual before it is material, you shift the way you approach life. Instead of forcing and striving, you begin aligning and allowing. You stop looking to the bank account as your source, and you recognize that true wealth flows from a limitless supply, one that cannot be measured by human means. This is why two people can work the same job, put in the same hours, and yet one struggles while the other prospers. The difference is not in the labor, it is in the unseen beliefs, the expectation, the spiritual posture. Wealth responds to inner alignment, not outer strain. The unseen realm is governed by laws that never fail. The law of faith, the law of gratitude, the law of expectancy, the law of giving. These are the divine systems through which abundance flows. To build wealth, you must first build your unseen foundation. This means holding faith, when evidence is not yet visible, giving thanks before the harvest appears, and daring to expect good when circumstances look bleak. The unseen is not imagination in the sense of fantasy. It is the blueprint of reality. Everything that exists now once lived first in the unseen. The chair you sit on was once an idea. The building you walk into was once a vision in someone's mind. The same is true of your financial freedom. It must exist in your unseen vision before it can become your lived experience. Most people sabotage their wealth in the unseen realm long before they ever take action in the physical world. They harbor thoughts of lack, repeat words of limitation, and cling to fear as though it were wisdom. In doing so, they are constantly locking the door on prosperity while begging for someone to hand them a key. But the key is already in their hand. The unseen is not neutral. It is shaped by what you feed it. Speak lack and lack multiplies. Speak abundance and abundance begins to take form. The unseen realm is listening to every word, receiving every thought, recording every expectation, and shaping the visible accordingly. Wealth is not about possession, it is about perception. You can hold wealth in your mind long before you hold it in your hand, and when you do, the material must eventually align. People who understand this do not live as beggars of life, waiting for chance to favor them. They live as creators, knowing that what they believe and declare in the unseen will become flesh in the seen. When you hold an inner vision of abundance, when you expect good with unwavering certainty, when you give thanks before there is any physical reason to do so, you are working in the realm where true wealth begins. Fear is the great destroyer of unseen wealth. The moment you allow fear to dominate your thoughts, you have sown seeds of lack into the soil of your life. Fear says, there isn't enough, it won't work, you can't make it. But the unseen is never limited. It responds not to scarcity but to faith. Wealth is born when you choose courage over fear, when you choose to believe that what is meant for you cannot pass you by, when you choose to step forward even when you cannot yet see the ground beneath your feet. Fear closes the gate, but faith opens it wide. Gratitude in the unseen is one of the most powerful forces you can wield. To give thanks before you see the answer is to announce your certainty that it already exists. Gratitude is not just an attitude, it is a spiritual magnet. When you stand in gratitude for the wealth you know is already yours, though not yet visible, you call it forth with power. Gratitude says, it is already done, and life rushes to prove you right. The unseen realm is not passive. It demands your participation. Your imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is the womb of creation. To see yourself prosperous, to envision yourself free, to picture your life abundant, generous, and fulfilled, is to impress that image upon the invisible substance that shapes reality. Hold it with persistence, and the outer world must yield. Release it in doubt, and the outer world will crumble. The unseen realm never fails, it only reflects. To live as though wealth is only physical is to live as a slave to circumstance. To live as though wealth begins in the unseen is to live as a master of creation. The choice is always before you. Will you toil in the outer world while neglecting the inner, or will you begin where all true wealth begins? In the invisible, eternal, and powerful realm of spirit, the divine key to wealth is faith fused with expectancy. Faith alone is powerful, but faith without expectancy is incomplete. Many people believe in the possibility of wealth. They speak words of faith, they pray, they hope, but they do not expect. Their hearts whisper doubt, their actions reveal hesitation, and their lives prove they are waiting for evidence before they choose certainty. But faith fused with expectancy is different. It is a force so strong that it shifts reality. It is not hoping something might happen, it is knowing it must. It is not wishing for wealth, It is standing in the conviction that wealth by divine right is already yours, moving toward you, inevitable. Faith by itself believes in the unseen, but expectancy pulls it into the present. To expect means to prepare, to anticipate, to act as though what you desire is already settled. A person with expectancy walks differently, speaks differently, and carries themselves with an authority that cannot be shaken. They do not beg life for favors. They do not plead with the universe for scraps. They command by their certainty, and the universe responds in kind. To expect is to take possession before the manifestation arrives. Most people miss this key. They live with faith, but stop short of expectancy. They pray, yet they secretly doubt. They affirm abundance, but they prepare for lack. They say the words, but they do not expect the result. They ask for rain, but fail to bring an umbrella, and so their faith feels powerless, not because it is weak, but because it is incomplete. The divine key requires the two forces, faith and expectancy, fused as one. Faith without expectancy is like planting a seed and never watering it. Expectancy without faith is like watering soil where no seed has been planted. But when faith plants the seed and expectancy waters it, the harvest is guaranteed. To live with faith fused with expectancy is to walk into every day knowing that the invisible supply is limitless and that what belongs to you cannot be taken from you. It is to look at circumstances that scream impossible and declare, "It is already done." Expectancy is not arrogance, it is trust. It does not demand in desperation, it rests in assurance. It is the difference between saying, "I hope I will be wealthy one day," and saying, "My wealth is already on its way, and I will prepare my life to receive it." When you expect wealth, you act in alignment with it. You set your affairs in order. You prepare your mind, your habits, your environment for abundance. Expectancy demands demonstration. If you claim to believe but never prepare, your faith has no anchor. To expect means you begin to move as though the blessing is already present. You make room for it, you clear space, you release the old, you live as though the new has already arrived. The one who expects builds a barn before the harvest, sets the table before the feast, and opens the door before the guest knocks. The unseen realm responds to expectancy with precision. Life cannot resist a soul who knows. Doors open to those who expect them to. Opportunities flow to those who anticipate them. Wealth comes to the one who lives ready for it. There is no force more magnetic than a spirit charged with faith and expectancy working together. It bends circumstances, rearranges conditions, and creates pathways where none existed. Doubt, on the other hand, cancels the flow. To doubt is to sabotage the unseen before it can manifest. Doubt says, maybe, but not yet. Perhaps, but not for me. Doubt expects nothing, and so it receives nothing. A doubter may believe in theory, but never in practice. They may hold faith as a concept, but not as a living reality. But when expectancy enters, faith takes on flesh. Faith fused with expectancy says, "It is mine," and refuses to consider otherwise. It leaves no room for wavering. Gratitude and expectancy walk hand in hand. To give thanks before receiving is the highest demonstration of expectancy. Gratitude announces to the universe, "I already know it is done, and I rejoice in advance." This vibration of certainty is irresistible. It is impossible to remain in lack when you are saturated with gratitude and expectancy. The law of life must deliver what you have claimed in faith and prepared for with expectation. Imagine a farmer planting seed. Faith believes the seed will grow, but expectancy is what moves him to water the soil, to protect the field, to sharpen the sickle for the harvest. Without expectancy, he would walk away from the field in doubt, never tending it, never ready for the crop. But because he expects, he labors in joy, knowing that the invisible process beneath the soil will break forth in its time. So it is with wealth. Faith plants the seed, expectancy waters it, and the harvest cannot fail. The divine key is not hidden to keep you from it. but to call you into alignment. To fuse faith with expectancy is to hold heaven and earth together, to bind the unseen with the seen, to draw the invisible into manifestation. This is the way of all who prosper, not by striving, not by panic, not by chance, but by certainty. Wealth does not come to the one who wishes, it comes to the one who expects. When faith and expectancy become one, you will find that opportunities chase you, resources flow toward you, and doors open of their own accord. You will discover that wealth was never outside of you. It was always waiting in the unseen, ready to be unlocked by the divine key. And that key is in your hand the moment you dare not only to believe, but to expect. Your words carry creative power. Every word you speak is a seed planted into the soil of your life, and that seed cannot remain idle. It must grow, it must bear fruit, it must bring forth after its kind. Too often, people believe their words are casual, harmless, empty sounds released into the air. They think speaking lack, fear, or doubt is simply venting, simply expressing feelings, simply being honest. But the truth is far more serious. Words are forces. They shape the unseen, and the unseen shapes the seen. To speak is to create, whether in blessing or in curse, in prosperity or in poverty, in freedom or in bondage. Your life today is, in part, the harvest of yesterday's words. The declarations you made in the past, spoken in moments of passion, fear, or routine, are living now in your circumstances. If you spoke lack, you see lack. If you spoke strength, you walk in strength. If you spoke fear, you fight fear. If you spoke faith, you find provision. This is the law. Words are not decorations, they are decrees. They carry vibration, they carry intention, and they carry the blueprint of reality. When you understand this, you begin to choose words carefully, deliberately, with reverence. You stop throwing them out carelessly as though they were pebbles, and you start releasing them like arrows aimed at a target. Every sentence becomes an act of creation. Every affirmation a stone laid in the foundation of your future. What you speak consistently is what you live inevitably. Many people cancel their blessings with their own tongues. They ask for wealth, but in the next breath declare, "Money never stays with me." They pray for opportunity, yet constantly say, "Nothing ever works out for me." They affirm health, yet every day complain, "I always get sick." Their words betray them. Their tongues undo the very prayers they send upward. You cannot expect prosperity when your mouth rehearses poverty. You cannot expect victory when your lips are filled with defeat. The universe takes you at your word, and life reflects what you continually declare. To live with the awareness of the creative power of words is to take responsibility for what you say. It is to stop repeating the language of lack, limitation, and fear. It is to replace complaints with declarations of faith, to replace doubt with affirmations of abundance, to replace fear with words of courage. When you declare, "I am prosperous, I am supplied, I am guided, I am free," you are not lying to yourself, you are aligning with divine truth. You are planting the right seed, and the harvest must follow. Words are bridges between the unseen and the seen. They are the tools by which thought becomes form, by which imagination becomes reality. What you hold in your mind is given shape by the words you speak aloud. To keep a vision silent is to hold it in potential. To give it words is to breathe it into creation. This is why affirmations are powerful, why declarations change lives, why mantras shape destinies. The spoken word carries a vibration that ripples through the unseen, setting forces into motion that cannot be recalled. Consider how often people speak against themselves without even noticing. They say, "I'm so unlucky, I'm always broke, I never get ahead." These words are self-fulfilling prophecies. They water seeds of limitation, and the harvest is frustration. Then they wonder why life seems to repeat the same struggles. But when you reverse the pattern, when you begin speaking life into your own experience, when you declare, "Everything I need is flowing to me. Doors are opening for me. I am favored, I am chosen, I am abundant," you begin to see the soil of your life change. Words reprogram the unseen, and the unseen shapes the seen. The power of words is not about empty repetition. It is about alignment with divine law. When your words are rooted in faith, when they carry conviction, they vibrate with authority. A word spoken with belief moves mountains. A word spoken with doubt scatters into the wind. This is why faith and words must walk together. You cannot speak abundance while holding doubt and expect results. But when you combine faith with speech, your words become keys that unlock doors, seeds that bear fruit, commands that bring order. Gratitude, when spoken aloud, multiplies its power. To say thank you in advance is to release a creative vibration that prepares the way for blessing. It is more than courtesy, it is creation. Gratitude spoken is a declaration of expectancy, a recognition that the blessing already exists in the unseen and is on its way into form. Every time you give thanks out loud, you accelerate manifestation. Guard your words in moments of pressure. When fear rises, when lack surrounds you, when doubt whispers in your ear, it is easy to let careless words slip out. But these are the very moments when words carry the most weight. To declare abundance in the face of lack, to speak courage in the presence of fear, to affirm victory when everything looks like defeat, that is when words become weapons. That is when they carve new paths and break old patterns. Words do not vanish. They echo in the unseen until they bear fruit. Every time you speak, you are shaping tomorrow. Every sentence is a seed, and your life is the garden. Speak carefully, for you will eat the fruit of your words. If you want wealth, speak wealth. If you want health, speak health. If you want joy, speak joy. The tongue holds the power of life and death, and the wise use it to create life, to summon wealth, to command peace. Your words carry creative power. Never forget that the world you walk in tomorrow is already forming through the words you speak today. Speak boldly, speak faithfully, speak abundantly, and watch how creation bends to match your declaration. Your words carry creative power. Every word you speak is a seed planted into the soil of your life, and that seed cannot remain idle. It must grow, it must bear fruit, it must bring forth after its kind. Too often, people believe their words are casual, harmless, empty sounds released into the air. They think speaking lack, fear, or doubt is simply venting, simply expressing feelings, simply being honest. But the truth is far more serious. Words are forces. They shape the unseen, and the unseen shapes the seen. To speak is to create, whether in blessing or in curse, in prosperity or in poverty, in freedom or in bondage. Your life today is in part the harvest of yesterday's words, the declarations you made in the past, spoken in moments of passion, fear, or routine are living now in your circumstances. If you spoke lack, you see lack. If you spoke strength, you walk in strength. If you spoke fear, you fight fear. If you spoke faith, you find provision. This is the law. Words are not decorations, they are decrees. They carry vibration, they carry intention, and they carry the blueprint of reality. When you understand this, you begin to choose words carefully, deliberately, with reverence. You stop throwing them out carelessly as though they were pebbles, and you start releasing them like arrows aimed at a target. Every sentence becomes an act of creation. Every affirmation, a stone laid in the foundation of your future. What you speak consistently is what you live inevitably. Many people cancel their blessings with their own tongues. They ask for wealth, but in the next breath declare, "Money never stays with me." They pray for opportunity, yet constantly say, "Nothing ever works out for me." They affirm health, yet every day complain, "I always get sick." Their words betray them. Their tongues undo the very prayers they send upward. You cannot expect prosperity when your mouth rehearses poverty. You cannot expect victory when your lips are filled with defeat. The universe takes you at your word, and life reflects what you continually declare. To live, with the awareness of the creative power of words is to take responsibility for what you say. It is to stop repeating the language of lack, limitation, and fear. It is to replace complaints with declarations of faith, to replace doubt with affirmations of abundance, to replace fear with words of courage. When you declare, "I am prosperous, I am supplied, I am guided, I am free," you are not lying to yourself. You are aligning with divine truth. You are planting the right seed, and the harvest must follow. Words are bridges between the unseen and the seen. They are the tools by which thought becomes form, by which imagination becomes reality. What you hold in your mind is given shape by the words you speak aloud. To keep a vision silent is to hold it in potential. To give it words is to breathe it into creation. This is why affirmations are powerful, why declarations change lives, why mantras shape destinies. The spoken word carries a vibration that ripples through the unseen, setting forces into motion that cannot be recalled. Consider how often people speak against themselves without even noticing. They say, "I'm so unlucky, I'm always broke, I never get ahead." These words are self-fulfilling prophecies. They water seeds of limitation, and the harvest is frustration. Then they wonder why life seems to repeat the same struggles. But when you reverse the pattern, when you begin speaking life into your own experience, when you declare, "Everything I need is flowing to me. Doors are opening for me. I am favored. I am chosen. I am abundant," you begin to see the soil of your life change. Words reprogram the unseen, and the unseen shapes the seen. The power of words is not about empty repetition. It is about alignment with divine law. When your words are rooted in faith, when they carry conviction, they vibrate with authority. A word spoken with belief moves mountains. A word spoken with doubt scatters into the wind. This is why faith and words must walk together. You cannot speak abundance while holding doubt and expect results. But when you combine faith with speech, your words become keys that unlock doors, seeds that bear fruit, commands that bring order. Gratitude, when spoken aloud, multiplies its power. To say thank you in advance is to release a creative vibration that prepares the way for blessing. It is more than courtesy, it is creation. Gratitude spoken is a declaration of expectancy, a recognition that the blessing already exists in the unseen and is on its way into form. Every time you give thanks out loud, you accelerate manifestation. Guard your words in moments of pressure. When fear rises, when lack surrounds you, when doubt whispers in your ear, it is easy to let careless words slip out. But these are the very moments when words carry the most weight. To declare abundance in the face of lack, to speak courage in the presence of fear, to affirm victory when everything looks like defeat, that is when words become weapons. That is when they carve new paths and break old patterns. Words do not vanish. They echo in the unseen until they bear fruit. Every time you speak, you are shaping tomorrow. Every sentence is a seed, and your life is the garden. Speak carefully, for you will eat the fruit of your words. If you want wealth, speak wealth. If you want health, speak health. If you want joy, speak joy. The tongue holds the power of life and death, and the wise use it to create life, to summon wealth, to command peace. Your words carry creative power. Never forget that the world you walk in tomorrow is already forming through the words you speak today. Speak boldly, speak faithfully, speak abundantly, and watch how creation bends to match your declaration. Wealth is not earned, it is aligned. This truth cuts against the grain of everything society teaches, yet it is the very reason why some people toil endlessly and still come up empty, while others seem to attract opportunities, resources, and abundance with ease. The world has conditioned us to believe that wealth comes only through relentless effort, endless hustling, and grinding until exhaustion. But that is only one side of the picture, and it is the weaker side. Hard work without alignment leads to struggle, while alignment without unnecessary struggle leads to flow. Wealth is not a prize for suffering. It is the natural result of living in harmony with divine law. To align is to position yourself with the invisible order that governs all creation. Everything in the universe has a rhythm, a flow, a design. The rivers flow effortlessly to the sea, the trees grow without strain, the sun rises without fail. Creation is not grinding, it is flowing. When you align with the same divine laws that govern abundance, wealth becomes a current that carries you. You no longer chase it, it comes to you. You no longer beg for it, it responds to you. Wealth is not forced, it is attracted. People often believe they can earn their way into prosperity, but earning alone can never create lasting wealth. If wealth could be earned by effort alone, the hardest workers would be the richest. Yet, so often, those who labor the most earn the least, while those who live in alignment prosper beyond measure. This is because wealth is not a wage, it is an alignment. It is the fruit of harmony between your inner state and divine law. When your beliefs, your words, your actions, and your vision align with abundance, wealth must appear. When they are filled with fear, doubt, and contradiction, all the labor in the world cannot bring prosperity. Alignment begins within. If you believe money is scarce, if you secretly fear you are unworthy, if you cling to the idea that prosperity is for others and not for you, no amount of work will override those beliefs. You may earn for a time, but the wealth will slip through your fingers because you are not aligned with holding it. But if you carry within you a deep conviction that abundance is your divine birthright, if you align your words with prosperity, if you expect wealth to flow into your life naturally and generously, you create a channel through which it must come. To align with wealth is to release the struggle and embrace the flow. It does not mean laziness, it does not mean waiting idly, but it does mean you stop fighting against the current of life. When you are aligned, you act with inspiration rather than desperation. Your efforts are multiplied because they are backed by the unseen power of faith. One inspired action taken in alignment can produce more fruit than years of struggle taken in fear. The aligned life is efficient, magnetic, and abundant. Wealth is energy before it is money. It is vibration before it is currency. When you align your vibration with abundance, opportunities arrive without strain, doors open without forcing, and resources appear from unexpected places. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude aligns you with the frequency of wealth. It says, I already have, I already am, I already receive. Gratitude eliminates resistance and opens the channel wider. Those who live in alignment understand that wealth is a partnership with the unseen. They know that their role is not to carry the entire burden of creation, but to trust the divine flow and move in harmony with it. They do not chase money out of fear of lack. They attract money by walking in certainty. They do not clutch tightly to what they have. They give freely, knowing that giving keeps them aligned with the endless supply of life. They do not sabotage their prosperity with words of defeat. They speak life, abundance, and blessing into every situation. Fear is the enemy of alignment. Fear pushes you into desperation, into frantic effort, into exhaustion. Fear tells you to cling, to hoard, to strive endlessly as though everything depends on you. But alignment says, rest in faith, take inspired action, trust the law. Fear closes the flow, but trust opens it. The more you align with faith and expectancy, the more wealth flows without struggle. This is why some people seem to move effortlessly into prosperity. They are not necessarily the most educated, the most talented, or the most hardworking. They are aligned. Their beliefs, their words, and their actions all sing the same song of abundance. The universe responds to harmony. Life cannot resist alignment. When you are aligned, you are magnetic. Wealth is not earned, it is aligned. This does not dismiss action, but it transforms the quality of action. Aligned action is powerful, effective, multiplied. Strained action without alignment is exhausting, frustrating, fruitless. The choice is always before you. Will you try to force wealth through struggle, Or will you align yourself with the laws that govern prosperity and allow it to flow? The divine design is abundance. Scarcity is not the natural order, it is a distortion. When you align with divine law, faith, gratitude, generosity, expectancy, you step back into the natural order where wealth flows as effortlessly as breath. The struggle ends and the flow begins. Wealth was never something you had to earn through suffering. It was always something waiting for you to align with. Gratitude is magnetic. It is not simply a polite expression or a fleeting feeling of thankfulness. It is a force, a vibration, an energy that draws good into your life with irresistible power. To live in gratitude is to tune your entire being to the frequency of abundance, and when you do, life cannot help but respond. What you are grateful for expands, multiplies, and returns to you in greater measure. Gratitude is not passive, it is active, it is creative, it is magnetic. Most people misunderstand gratitude. They think of it as a response, something you feel after something good happens. But the true power of gratitude lies in giving thanks before the blessing arrives, in offering praise while the evidence is still unseen. Gratitude is faith in action. It says, I already know it is mine, and I rejoice in advance. This kind of gratitude pulls the unseen into the seen, the invisible into the visible, the promise into reality. It is not waiting for proof, it is creating the proof. Gratitude is magnetic because it shifts your focus. Whatever you focus on grows, and gratitude fixes your attention on abundance rather than lack. The world is filled with both scarcity and supply, fear and faith, loss and gain. Gratitude chooses to see the good, and by seeing it, multiplies it. The ungrateful heart dwells on what is missing, and in doing so, creates more lack. The grateful heart dwells on what is present and what is promised, and by doing so, draws more of it into being. Life mirrors back to you the state of your heart, and nothing aligns your heart with abundance more quickly than gratitude. Every time you give thanks, you are announcing to the universe that you are ready for more. Gratitude opens the door wider, signaling that you recognize the blessing, that you value it, and that you can be trusted with increase. Just as no one wants to give more to someone who is ungrateful, the universe does not pour abundance into a spirit that constantly complains. But the grateful soul cannot be denied because gratitude keeps the channel of receiving open. It makes you magnetic to wealth, to opportunity, to favor. Gratitude is magnetic because it dissolves fear. Fear is the great blocker of prosperity, whispering that there isn't enough, that blessings may run out, that scarcity is always near. But gratitude silences fear with certainty. A grateful heart knows supply is endless. A grateful heart remembers past provision and trusts future abundance. Gratitude says, I have, I am, I will continue to receive. In that vibration of trust, fear loses its grip, and the flow of wealth continues unhindered. Gratitude is also magnetic because it changes your posture toward giving. When you are grateful, you recognize that what you have is a gift, and gifts are meant to be shared. Gratitude produces generosity, and generosity multiplies wealth. An ungrateful heart clutches tightly, fearing loss, but a grateful heart gives freely, knowing that giving does not deplete, it increases. The moment you release something in gratitude, you open yourself to receive more. Gratitude creates circulation, and circulation is the law of life. Your words of gratitude carry magnetic power as well. To speak thankfulness aloud is to release a vibration into the unseen that reshapes reality. When you declare, I am grateful for the wealth flowing into my life, you are not making a wish, you are setting a law in motion. You are commanding the unseen to align with your gratitude. Spoken gratitude is like planting seeds into fertile soil. Every word carries potential, and the harvest cannot be withheld. Even in difficulty, gratitude is magnetic. To give thanks in the face of challenge is to declare that the challenge cannot defeat you. Gratitude in adversity is the highest form of faith, and faith always produces abundance. When you can say, thank you, even in the storm loses its power, and blessings begin to rise from the very situation that looked like loss. Gratitude turns obstacles into stepping stones and trials into treasures. Gratitude is also magnetic because it transforms the one who practices it. A grateful person radiates a different energy, an energy that attracts people, opportunities, and blessings. Gratitude makes you approachable, trustworthy, and joyful. It removes bitterness and replaces it with peace. It shifts you from complaining to creating, from worrying to receiving. This change within is felt without, and the outer world reflects it back. People want to help those who are grateful. Opportunities seek those who live in appreciation. Gratitude makes you a magnet not just for wealth, but for favor and connection. Consider how life responds to gratitude in the simplest ways. When you thank someone, they feel inclined to do more. When you recognize and appreciate the small, you create room for the large. When you honor what you already have, you prove you are ready for what is next. Gratitude multiplies always. Lack shrinks under complaint, but abundance expands under thanksgiving. Gratitude is not something to practice occasionally. It is a way of being. The magnetic field it creates strengthens the more you live in it. Begin and end each day in gratitude. Thank the divine for what you have had, and for what is on the way. Speak it aloud, write it down, feel it deeply. The more you do, the stronger the magnetic pull becomes, and the more naturally wealth flows into your life. Gratitude is magnetic because it proves faith, and faith is the foundation of all prosperity. To say thank you in advance is to say, I believe, I expect, I trust. Life responds to that declaration with abundance. Wealth, health, joy, and opportunity are drawn irresistibly to the grateful soul. To live in gratitude is to stand at the center of a divine magnet, pulling good from every direction, multiplying blessings beyond measure, and ensuring that abundance never ceases to flow. Fear is the great thief. It robs silently, often before you even notice what has been taken. It does not always come with loud alarms or obvious warnings. Sometimes it slips in quietly, disguising itself as caution, as reason, as practicality. But beneath the mask, fear is the force that steals your wealth, your dreams, your peace, and your power. It is not circumstances that keep most people bound. It is fear. It is not lack of opportunity, but fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, that chains people to small lives when greater abundance was always available. Fear steals vision. The moment fear takes hold, imagination is poisoned. Instead of seeing possibilities, you see obstacles. Instead of envisioning abundance, you picture scarcity. Fear blinds the inner eye, replacing faith, filled images with scenes of disaster. And since what you hold in your mind shapes what you manifest, fear guarantees lack by filling your imagination with it. The great thief begins its work in the unseen, planting seeds of doubt that will grow into a harvest of limitation. Fear steals courage. You may feel the pull of inspiration, the whisper of divine guidance, the nudge to take a step toward prosperity, but fear stands guard at the edge of opportunity. It whispers, what if you fail? What if you lose? What if you are not enough? And so many shrink back. They delay. They prepare endlessly but never move. They let moments pass that could have transformed everything. Fear has stolen not only the opportunity, but the strength to reach for it. Fear steals words. Under its influence, the tongue begins to repeat limitation. People say, I can't afford that. I'll never get ahead. Nothing ever works out for me. These declarations are not harmless. They are self-imposed curses. Words shape reality, and fear controls the words of the unguarded. It pushes people to prophesy their own lack, to confess defeat before the battle begins. In this way, fear tricks people into creating the very circumstances they dread. Fear steals wealth by keeping hands closed. Generosity is a law of abundance, but fear convinces you to hoard. to cling tightly to what you have, to distrust the flow of life. It says, if you give, you will lack. If you release, you will lose. But the opposite is true. Only by giving does receiving multiply. Fear blocks circulation, and without circulation, prosperity cannot flow. Like water trapped in a stagnant pool, resources without flow become decay. Fear convinces people that clinging is safety, when in truth, it is the very act that locks them in scarcity. Fear steals gratitude. Gratitude focuses on abundance, but fear keeps attention fixed on lack. Fear convinces you to dwell on what might go wrong instead of what is already right. It blinds you to blessings, making you feel impoverished even when you are surrounded by gifts. Without gratitude, wealth cannot multiply, for gratitude is the magnet that draws more. Fear strips away this magnetism, replacing it with complaint, worry, and dissatisfaction, all of which repel prosperity. Fear steals expectancy. To live in faith is to expect good, to prepare for abundance, to live as though blessings are certain. But fear twists expectancy into dread. Instead of anticipating wealth, you anticipate loss. Instead of looking forward to opportunity, you brace for disaster. Expectancy shapes reality, and fear flips it upside down. It makes you prepare for the wrong outcome, and by preparing for it, you invite it in. Fear is the great thief because it paralyzes action. Faith moves boldly, even when evidence is not yet visible. Fear waits for proof, for guarantees, for safety before taking a step. But life never offers such certainty. To wait for fear to vanish before acting is to wait forever. And so dreams remain dormant, wealth remains untouched, visions remain unfulfilled, not because they were impossible, but because fear stole the courage to begin. Fear steals time. Every moment spent worrying is a moment not spent creating, not spent giving thanks, not spent imagining abundance. Fear robs the present by chaining the mind to possible futures that have not even happened. It drains energy, distracts focus, and leaves people weary without having moved forward. Time lost to fear is the most expensive loss, for it can never be replaced. Fear steals alignment. Prosperity is a flow, a harmony with divine law. Fear knocks you out of that flow. It fills the mind with resistance, closes the heart with doubt, tightens the body with tension. When you are in fear, you are out of alignment, and when you are out of alignment, wealth cannot flow freely. Fear makes you believe that everything depends solely on your effort, cutting you off from trust in the infinite supply. In doing so, it robs you not only of wealth but of peace. Fear is the great thief because it convinces you to betray yourself. It makes you shrink when you were meant to rise. It makes you settle when you were meant to soar. It makes you accept crumbs when the table was already set with a feast. Fear does not only rob possessions, it robs identity, potential, destiny. It keeps kings and queens living as beggars, heirs of abundance wandering as if orphaned. The only cure for fear is faith. Faith restores vision, giving you the courage to see abundance even when it is invisible. Faith restores words, filling your tongue with declarations of prosperity. Faith restores generosity, proving that supply is endless. Faith restores gratitude, drawing more blessing into your life. Faith restores expectancy, making you live ready for good. Faith restores alignment, placing you back into the flow where wealth naturally belongs. Fear is the great thief, but only if you allow it to rule. The moment you choose faith over fear, gratitude over complaint, courage over hesitation, generosity over hoarding, you lock the thief out. Wealth flows again, doors open again, life responds again. Fear may come knocking, but it has no power unless you invite it in. You were never meant to live as its victim. You were meant to rise in faith, to claim abundance, and to live free. Giving activates receiving. It is one of the great paradoxes of life. What you release from your hand and your heart does not diminish you, it multiplies you. The act of giving is not just charity, not just kindness. It is a divine law of circulation that keeps abundance flowing through your life. The moment you give, you set a chain reaction in motion. opening channels for return, drawing increase toward you, and aligning yourself with the rhythm of universal supply. Giving is not loss, it is the seed that guarantees a harvest. So many people cling to what they have, afraid to let go, convinced that if they release, they will lack. Yet this fear is what keeps them trapped in scarcity. Nothing grows without planting, and nothing multiplies without releasing. The farmer who hoards his seed will starve, while the one who scatters generously across the field ensures an abundant harvest. Giving is the planting of wealth, and every act of generosity carries within it the promise of multiplication. When you give, you are not diminishing your supply, you are expanding it. Giving activates receiving because it proves trust in the invisible supply. It is an act of faith, a declaration that you believe in abundance so deeply that you are willing to release part of it without fear. It says, "There is more where this came from. The source is endless. I am connected to infinite provision." This alignment draws more to you because the universe responds to faith, not fear. The one who hoards closes the flow, but the one who gives opens the gates wide. Giving is magnetic. It attracts goodwill, opportunities, relationships, and favor. People are naturally drawn to those who give with sincerity and joy. The energy of generosity is radiant, and that radiance returns multiplied. Life mirrors what you project, and when you project generosity, life mirrors it back in forms of increase you could never have orchestrated yourself. The blessings may not always come from the same direction you gave, but they will come, often from unexpected places. Giving always activates receiving, though the channel of return may surprise you. Giving also expands the heart, and an expanded heart is able to receive more. If your hands are clenched, both in fear and in greed, nothing can be placed in them. But when your hands are open in giving, they are also open to receive. The very posture of generosity prepares you for greater inflow. The small vessel cannot contain great wealth, but giving enlarges you, stretching your capacity, preparing you for greater blessings. Each act of giving increases the space within you to hold more. There is a reason gratitude and generosity walk together. The grateful heart naturally gives, for it sees life as a gift, and the giving heart naturally receives, for it trusts the circulation of abundance. When you give, you are showing gratitude for what you already have, and that gratitude attracts more. When you give, you are honoring the divine flow, and that honor ensures the flow continues. The cycle is never broken. Gratitude leads to giving, giving leads to receiving, receiving leads to more gratitude, and the spiral of abundance rises higher. Giving activates receiving because it creates circulation. Wealth, like blood, must flow to bring life. Stagnation is death, and hoarding is stagnation. Just as rivers remain fresh because they flow, so does prosperity remain alive in the lives of those who keep it moving. Giving is the outflow that guarantees inflow. Without outflow, the river dries, the well runs empty, the channels clog. But with outflow, the current remains strong, and with every release comes fresh supply. Giving also aligns you with divine law, and divine law always responds with increase. You are never punished for generosity. You are rewarded. You are never diminished by releasing. You are expanded. Every act of giving carries within it a spiritual multiplication. Sometimes it returns in money, sometimes in opportunities, sometimes in health, relationships, peace, or favor. But it always returns, for the law cannot fail. Giving activates receiving in forms that often surpass what was given, because what you sow is never equal to what you reap. It is always multiplied. Those who give with joy unlock the greatest receiving. For giving is not meant to be forced or reluctant, but cheerful and faith-filled. The vibration of joy in giving is powerful. It declares abundance with confidence. Reluctant giving carries fear, but joyful giving carries expectancy, and expectancy draws abundance quickly. When you give with a heart full of faith, you are writing your own invitation for blessings to arrive. Think of the greatest wealth, builders, leaders, and visionaries throughout history. They understood that true wealth is created not by clutching tightly, but by releasing freely. They gave ideas, value, service, and resources, and in doing so, received back tenfold. The world remembers givers because giving plants seeds in hearts, communities, and futures. Those seeds bear fruit that outlives the giver, but the giver always partakes of the harvest as well. Giving activates receiving because it places you in the flow of life itself. Life is not static. It is dynamic, constantly moving, constantly exchanging. To give is to move with that current. To withhold is to resist it. Those who resist are dragged under by fear, but those who flow with it rise on waves of provision. Giving keeps you in rhythm with the heartbeat of the universe, and in that rhythm, you are never left empty-handed. Every time you give, you are proving to yourself and to life that you are already abundant. And because life mirrors belief, more abundance must follow. Giving is the evidence of faith, and faith is always rewarded. The measure you give determines the measure you receive, and when you give freely, you receive abundantly. To live with open hands is to live in perpetual flow, where lack is impossible and increase is inevitable. Giving activates receiving, not as a possibility, but as a certainty. It is not a gamble, it is a law. The moment you release in faith, you set in motion unseen forces that ensure return. You cannot outgive life, for every seed sown into the soil of generosity returns multiplied. To give is to call abundance by name, to set wealth in motion, and to guarantee that your life will never run dry. In giving, you do not lose, you secure your increase, for giving is and always will be the divine key that activates receiving. Imagination is the womb of wealth. Every great achievement, every fortune, every innovation that has ever come into being was first born in the invisible realm of the mind. Wealth does not begin in the marketplace, nor in a paycheck, nor in an investment account. It begins in thought, in vision, in imagination. Before there is substance, there is form in the unseen. Before there is gold in your hand, there is an image in your mind. Imagination conceives what the world has not yet seen, and through faith, persistence, and alignment, that vision becomes flesh. The imagination is not child's play, nor idle dreaming. It is the creative faculty of the spirit, the place where seeds of abundance are planted. When you allow your mind to picture vividly the life you desire, you are already shaping it in the unseen realm. You are designing its structure, outlining its boundaries, giving form to the formless. Just as a mother carries life in her womb before it is birthed, so does the imagination carry wealth before it appears. Nothing arrives without first being conceived, and nothing grows without first being imagined. Those who despise imagination and cling only to what is seen live in limitation. They say, "I will believe it when I see it," and so they never move beyond the evidence of their senses. But those who honor imagination declare, "I will see it because I first believe it." They understand that imagination is the workshop of creation. It is here that you take the raw material of thought, fuse it with faith, and shape it into a reality that cannot be denied. Wealth has always been created twice, once in the mind and then in the world. Imagination is the womb of wealth because it breaks free from limitation. The outer world is full of restrictions, but imagination knows none. You may not yet have the resources, but in imagination, you already build. You may not yet see the opportunity, but in imagination, the door is already open. You may not yet hold the wealth, but in imagination, you already feel its presence, live in its flow, and enjoy its fruits. The mind that dares to imagine abundance creates a blueprint for life to follow. Life does not resist such a blueprint. It obeys it. The danger is not in imagining too much, but in imagining too little. Poverty of imagination is the root of poverty in life. If you cannot see beyond your current circumstance, if you cannot picture yourself rising, expanding, and thriving, then you are trapped in the small box of what already is. Wealth cannot be born in such a womb, but when imagination is fertile with vision, gratitude, and faith, it conceives wealth in limitless measure. You cannot imagine the divine source of supply. The bigger your vision, the greater the possibilities drawn to you. Imagination also stirs emotion, and emotion is creative power. When you not only picture but feel the wealth you desire, when you live in its joy, its freedom, its expansiveness in your inner world, you magnetize it in the outer. Imagination fused with emotion is not daydreaming, it is creation. You are impressing your subconscious, and the subconscious then goes to work aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities with that vision. The outer world begins to bend to the inner image, because the law of life is that what is within must manifest without. The womb of imagination must be guarded, for it will conceive whatever is planted in it. If you feed it fear, it will birth lack. If you feed it doubt, it will birth limitation. If you feed it worry, it will birth the very circumstances you dread. But if you feed it faith, gratitude, expectancy, and vision, it will birth abundance beyond what you thought possible. You are always imagining something, whether consciously or unconsciously, and whatever you persist in imagining will take form. The womb does not discriminate, it brings forth what is conceived. That is why discipline of thought is the highest work of wealth creation. Imagination is not a substitute for action, but it is the source of inspired action. The one who imagines clearly will always know the next step, because the vision guides them. The one who lacks imagination stumbles in confusion, reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. Imagination gives direction, clarity, and confidence. It is the inner compass that points toward opportunities unseen by others. Where others see only obstacles, the imaginative see pathways. Where others see scarcity, the imaginative see fields of abundance waiting to be harvested. History is filled with stories of those who dared to imagine beyond their time. They were laughed at, doubted, dismissed as dreamers. Yet their inner vision became outer reality, and the world was changed. The wealth of nations, the rise of industries, the expansion of human possibility, all of it was conceived first in imagination. The same principle applies to your personal life. Your financial freedom, your prosperity, your legacy begins not with money in hand, but with vision in mind. To live without imagination is to live barren, but to cultivate imagination is to live fertile with possibility. Guard your inner vision. Feed it daily with images of the life you desire, spoken words of abundance, and feelings of gratitude. Picture your wealth not as something far away, but as already growing within you, awaiting the moment of birth. Speak to it, nurture it, believe in it, for imagination is not fantasy, it is the womb of reality. Imagination is the womb of wealth because it is the place where faith and vision unite to create form. What you dare to imagine consistently, with faith and gratitude, must come to pass. It is law. The wealth you seek is already alive in the unseen, waiting to be delivered through the channel of your imagination. The question is not whether it can come, but whether you are willing to conceive it within, carry it with faith, and allow it to be born into your life. Preparation demonstrates certainty. To prepare is to declare in advance that you believe something is coming, that you are not waiting for proof but moving in faith. When you prepare, you align yourself with the outcome before it appears. You do not wait to see wealth before you make room for it. You make room, and by doing so, you call it forth. Preparation is not wasted effort. It is a magnetic act of expectancy. It is the evidence that you already know abundance is yours. When you prepare, you shift from hoping to knowing. Hope waits, but certainty acts. Certainty clears the path, builds the foundation, and lays out the table before the feast arrives. To prepare is to embody faith in motion. A person who says they believe yet makes no preparation reveals that doubt still lingers in their heart. But the one who organizes, structures, saves space, and prepares themselves inwardly and outwardly is declaring, I know it is on the way. Life responds to that certainty, for divine law always aligns with those who act as if the promise is already fulfilled. Think of a farmer who tills the soil before the rain has come. He does not question whether the seasons will shift. He knows the cycle is sure. His preparation is proof of his faith in the unseen. He does not wait for evidence of the harvest before he plants. His very act of planting demonstrates certainty that the earth will yield. In the same way, when you prepare for wealth, for opportunity, for expansion, you are planting in the unseen, and that preparation summons the harvest into reality. Preparation is magnetic because it signals readiness. Abundance does not flow into a life cluttered with doubt, chaos, or disorganization. Wealth seeks order, and preparation creates that order. When you prepare, you are saying to the universe, I am ready to receive, I am capable of handling increase, I have created the space for more. Without preparation, even blessings can become burdens. But when you have prepared, blessings find a place to land, and they multiply with ease. Preparation demonstrates certainty because it transforms your identity. The act of preparing shifts you from a seeker into a receiver, from a dreamer into an owner. You begin to walk, speak, and live in alignment with the abundance you expect. You organize your finances as if wealth is already present. You carry yourself with dignity as if success is already secured. You nurture habits as if opportunity is already knocking. This identity attracts the reality, because the outer must eventually match the inner. Many people delay preparation because they fear disappointment. They say, what if I prepare and nothing happens? But that thought itself reveals doubt, not faith. Preparation is never wasted, even if the exact blessing you envisioned takes longer to arrive, because preparation transforms you into someone who is ready for abundance in any form. When you prepare, you grow stronger, more disciplined, more aligned, and this in itself attracts greater opportunities. Nothing is ever lost when you prepare in faith, but much is lost when you wait in fear. Preparation also trains your subconscious mind. The subconscious does not argue, it believes what you continually act upon. When you prepare, you are programming your inner world with certainty. You are teaching yourself that the outcome is inevitable. The subconscious then begins to orchestrate circumstances, ideas, and actions to match that certainty. You may suddenly notice opportunities you previously overlooked, meet people who align with your vision, or receive guidance that accelerates your path. This is not coincidence. It is the fruit of preparation. Even in spiritual law, preparation is honored. Faith without works is dead because faith must be expressed. Preparation is one of the highest forms of work that faith produces. To clean the room before the guest arrives is faith. To build the ark before the rain is faith. To save, study, organize, and structure before the wealth arrives is faith. Preparation is the invisible made visible, the inward belief made outward proof. The one who prepares does not need to convince others of their faith. It is demonstrated in action. Preparation demonstrates certainty by separating you from those who only wish and wait. Wishes are weak, but preparation is power. Anyone can say, I hope it happens. Few are willing to build, organize, and act before they see evidence. But those who do set themselves apart as creators, not victims of circumstance. They are not waiting for life to decide. They are already preparing for what they know belongs to them. Life honors that boldness because certainty commands manifestation. Preparation also multiplies opportunity. When you are prepared, you can seize doors that open quickly while others hesitate. Wealth often comes in sudden moments, a chance encounter, an unexpected opportunity, a shift in circumstances. Only those who are prepared can step through without delay. Preparation is the bridge between vision and reality, ensuring that when the moment comes, you are not scrambling but ready. In that readiness lies the difference between those who miss opportunities and those who multiply them. Preparation demonstrates certainty because it is aligned with divine timing. You cannot control when every blessing arrives, but you can control your readiness. When the season shifts, the prepared soul steps in with ease, while the unprepared is left behind. Preparation keeps you tuned to expectancy, awake to possibility, and aligned with flow. It is the continual affirmation that you are not waiting for abundance. You are living as though it is inevitable. To prepare is to prove. It is to prove to yourself, to life, and to the unseen forces that govern abundance that you are certain. It is to declare that you are no longer doubting, no longer wavering, no longer wondering if it will happen. You know it will. That knowing is irresistible. It calls forth the very thing you are preparing for, because life always delivers to those who live in certainty. Preparation demonstrates certainty, and certainty always attracts manifestation. To prepare is to say, I already believe. To prepare is to embody faith in action. To prepare is to build the room before the blessing arrives, to set the table before the feast, to make space before the gift is given. And in that preparation, you summon wealth, opportunity, and abundance into your life. The divine key is surrender. To surrender is not to give up. It is to let go of the frantic grasping, the desperate clinging, the endless striving that keeps you chained to struggle. Surrender is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form, because it requires trust in a power greater than yourself. It is the release of control that you never truly had, the willingness to step into flow instead of fighting the current. The divine key is surrender, because it is only when you let go that you allow life to work for you rather than against you. Surrender is the language of faith. When you surrender, you are saying, I trust that what is meant for me cannot pass me by. I trust that the same intelligence that spins the planets, that paints the sunrise, that beats my heart without my effort, knows how to orchestrate my life. In surrender, you stop wrestling with outcomes. You no longer chase, you no longer plead, you no longer bargain. You simply release, knowing that all things are unfolding for your highest good. That release creates space for the divine to move, for answers to appear, for doors to open. The irony is that many spend their lives in the illusion of control. They believe that through force, worry, or relentless effort, they can bend life to their will, yet the more they grip, the more life resists. Fearful control repels what surrender attracts, because surrender carries trust, and trust is magnetic. When you surrender, you no longer operate from fear of loss or lack. You operate from the certainty that abundance is already yours. That certainty draws wealth, peace, and opportunities effortlessly, because you are no longer blocking them with resistance. Surrender is the opposite of fear. Fear says, what if it doesn't work out? Surrender says, I trust that whatever happens, it will be for my good. Fear clings to the known, while surrender opens to the unknown. Fear keeps you in the cage of limitation, while surrender hands you the key to freedom. It is only when you release the need to control every outcome that life can deliver something far greater than you could have orchestrated on your own. The divine key is surrender, because surrender opens the channel of receiving. Imagine holding a gift with clenched fists. Your hands are closed and nothing can be placed into them. But when you surrender, your hands open, and suddenly you are ready to receive. Many pray for blessings while holding tightly to their fears, their limitations, their conditions, their deadlines. But blessing flows only where space has been made. Surrender is the act of making space. It is the emptying out of resistance so that fullness can enter. To surrender is to align with divine timing. You no longer demand that everything happen on your schedule. You trust that there is a perfect unfolding even when it does not match your plan. You do not quit pursuing your vision, but you release the desperation around when and how it must happen. This is the balance of surrender. It is not passivity. It is inspired action coupled with release of control. You move forward but without clinging. You act but without anxiety. You trust that every step is guided, even if you cannot see the entire path. Surrender transforms struggle into peace. Without surrender, life feels heavy. You carry the burden of trying to conquer